Hello everybody, welcome back. We have a brush pen showdown today. In the left hand corner, we've got the cult classic Tombow Dual Brush Pens, and in the right hand corner, we have the up and coming Ohuhu Paper-Friendly Brush Pens. I'm sure you've seen Ohuhu products across the internet. They have made quite the impact online, especially on TikTok, and I personally love watching those coloring book videos. Although these were gifted to me by Ohuhu, all of the thoughts and opinions in this video are 100% my own. So I am extremely excited to put these guys to the test, and without further ado, let's get started. I'm doing a quick unboxing of the Ohuhu markers just because this is the first time that I'm seeing them, and here is my live reaction. Oh my god. Holy, oh my god. Okay, so it looks like we have our neutrals here. We've got our cool tone blues and greens here. We've got our pinky purples here, and then we've got our orange and yellows here. So here are all of the colors that come in the set, but they have also included a color swatching card as well, so you can do the swatches and then compare them side by side. So I'm going to do this off camera because it's probably going to take me a little bit, and then I'll come back and do a quick comparison. So here are the swatches side by side, and I am glad that I did them because you can see, especially with the fluorescent colors, they were just not being done justice on this little sheet compared to here. Also, don't mind me like not coloring in the lines. So I'm going to be comparing and contrasting these markers based on their price, their aesthetic, and their overall functionality, including their pigment quality, blendability, paper friendliness, bleed through, and tip flexibility. In order to make this a more even playing field, considering these Ohuhu markers are brand new, I have picked my newest Tombow markers as well, so these are only a month old, and I have also selected the closest corresponding shades that I could so that when we look at the blendability, we're blending similar shades into one another. And just to show you that I tried my best to color match, on the back here we're picking these two, I believe those two, and then that one and a middle, which was not a great match, but that's the closest that we have. So let's hop into the comparison now. Starting with aesthetics, you can see that the Tombow marker is just slightly taller by a matter of millimeters. The Tombow has a matte black body featuring the flexible brush tip on one end and then a bullet tip in the corresponding color on the other end. The Ohuhu has a glossy white body, which I prefer the look of just because most of my desk accessories are white. One end is the brush tip, and then the other end is a 0.4mm fine liner rather than a bullet tip, once again in the corresponding color. A single Tombow marker retails for $4.49 Canadian. However, if you buy them in larger sets, they are slightly less expensive. So a 54 pack of Tombow markers is $200, which comes out to be $3.70 Canadian per marker. The 60 pack of Ohuhu markers retails for $43 Canadian, which comes out to be $1.40 per marker, so they are about 1/3 of the price of the Tombow. Both markers feature a water-based, non-toxic, acid-free, odorless ink, with the primary selling point for the Tombows being their non-bleed capability, and the selling point for the Ohuhus is their paper friendliness. I'm using the Leuchtturm 1917 80 GSM paper to do my initial comparison, and I'm starting with the pigment. I'm swatching the Tombow both ends and then the Ohuhu both ends, and immediately I notice a difference in writing sensation. Although the Ohuhu markers are water-based, their ink flow reminded me of an alcohol-based marker. It applied more generously, and I found it to be less grippy on the paper as well. The fine liner wrote like a standard fine liner, which I also can appreciate. Here you can see the color saturation. As far as bleed through is concerned, the Tombow markers definitely have less bleed through, but I know that Ohuhu mentioned that although their primary focus has been on addressing the pilling issue and making sure their markers are paper friendly, they are going to be exploring other product possibilities that will minimize bleed through. So hopefully that is something that gets more attention in the future. Moving on to tip flexibility, I wanted to test how well each marker could display a thick and a thin line. I will say that I do notice with my Tombows, after a couple of uses, the tip becomes very flexible, which reduces how much line variation you can get, so I tend to lose that thin line. I can't yet speak to how well the Ohuhu markers will be able to keep their shape, but maybe I can post an update at a later time. In this example though, you can see that the Ohuhu is giving a better line variation. You can see the difference between the thick and the thin, rather than having like a medium thick and a very thick. Once again, I'm doing a quick bleed through test, and you can see that there is quite a lot more bleed through with the Ohuhus. So now I'm testing the paper friendliness, which is something that Ohuhu has been marketing about their brush pens, where with a traditional brush pen, you get about 5 strokes in or 5 layers in on top of each other, and the paper starts to pill or peel away. Meanwhile, the Ohuhu markers, you'll start seeing that around 20 layers. So that is something that I am going to be putting to the test today. This is the Tombow 5 layers in, and I can start to not only see but feel the paper pilling, but let me do 10. So here, I hope you can see, but it is in fact pilling. You can see at the ends here, like if I even just move that, it starts to crumble away. So let's do 10 with the Ohuhu marker now. This is Ohuhu 5 layers in. So far the paper is still smooth. I'm not feeling any pilling so far. Here is 10 layers, and I'm going to do the same feel test. Still nothing really coming up. I can feel a little bit over here. You can see, oh, maybe you can't see. A couple pieces, but now I'm going to do 20 full layers. Okay, here is 20 layers side by side. You can see, hopefully, you can see that it is pilling. On the Tombow and with the Ohuhu, the pilling is significantly less. You can see the pieces that are coming off are much smaller, and it still isn't breaking through the paper entirely. Like this one, this is a full layer of paper that's coming off, but the paper is still relatively intact. And once again, here is the bleed through. For the blendability test, I'm grabbing my official bullet journal, which uses 120 GSM paper instead, just so we could play around a little bit and maybe add some more ink. So these are them side by side, and neither of them have been blended. Initially, I was going to try and write the name of the markers themselves, but I thought it would be more of an even playing field if it was the exact same word that was being written. So now that you can see these unblended, let's blend them out. So with the Tombow, this is usually why I don't do blending with them, just because of the paper pilling. But let me just take some of that away. And this is the Tombow blended. Okay, and here is the Ohuhu. There still is some pilling. It's much less than the Tombow, but it's definitely still there. You can see if I go like that, some of the page pills off. But those are them blended side by side. Maybe you can let me know what you think. And then just out of curiosity, I'm going to do the same thing, but just have them colored in side by side. And then those are just the regular swatches that have been blended. And then for those of you who are curious, those are the bleed through. I wanted to give my final thoughts, but guys, both of these markers are absolutely incredible. It will just come down to what you're planning on using them for. If bleed through and ghosting is your primary issue, then you're going to want a Tombow, but if you're more frustrated with paper pilling and that you can't layer too much without paper pilling, then you're going to enjoy the Ohuhu. A couple other considerations to include is that the Ohuhu is a third of the price, and it does have a deeper, more saturated color. I think because Ohuhu is working on the bleed through, if they are able to crack that and make it where it doesn't bleed through, then I think we would have a winner. Like I said before, I haven't used the Ohuhus long enough to make a long-term judgment of them, whether or not the ink lasts as long as the Tombows and whether or not the tip will become too flexible like the Tombows. These are things that I will have to update you guys on. Okay, everybody, that is it for today. I want to give a special thank you to Ohuhu for sending me their markers and allowing me to try them. It has been so much fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. I will be doing a bullet journal setup video using my Ohuhu markers, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that. And I will see you next time, guys. Stay cozy and bye-bye.